Hey guys, today I wanted to check out a new game called The Engineer, and the reason I wanted to try it is that at a cursory glance, it kinda looks like Polybridge 3D, but actually done really well. But I wanted to try running through the tutorial and getting you guys up to speed on what this even is. And so now in the building tutorial, you can see on the bottom we have all of these different components we could put down, but for now, all we need to do is put something on the wall. And it does snap on the wall nicely, but it didn't stay in place. Now to do that, the game's just teaching us that we have to make a fixed node, and you can see we put that down instead, and with this, it actually does hold. Now already, I do like how easy it is to switch between different materials, and also how easy it is to brace things against the wall. Next here, the game wants to show us how to brace things together, and you can see it took me a little while to figure it out, but once I got this connected up right, you can see trying it out, this extra bar I added in has 2 nails on it, and these just act like nodes that freely swing back and forth. But what I really like about this is, again, just how easy it is to add this in place. And you can see after that, it asks me to do a similar thing again with panels, and this time we have to put the nails in ourselves. Now at this point, I was pretty interested in continuing to play here. I play a lot of tutorials for games, then end up just not doing anything with them, but this was fairly interesting. And with the basic idea of building done here, now it tried to put me in a walking tutorial. Now if you've ever played Human Fall Flat, the controls are like nearly identical. The only difference being you're actually able to pull yourself up here, and you can see now I'm actually starting to climb this wall. Now the whole point of having this very horribly controlled character is that you need to actually make a good bridge or some good design, and as you can see, it's definitely not easy to control this, and I could very easily just fly back off ledges. With a bit more care though, I was able to barely stay on the ledge here and start to make it over to this cart. Now I'm also able to grab onto this here and start to kind of sort of pull it forward, and once it reaches the green area there, that was my entire tutorial. So understanding nothing more than the basics, I wanted to jump into the first set of levels here and see what I could do. Now to start out, the goal was to try to keep up this crate, and to do that, the easiest thing I could think of doing is putting down some fixed anchors and nothing else. Now putting these down here, the camera was being a little bit weird, which I found out later was pretty much just in this tutorial for some reason, but you can see now placing down those 3 joints and trying this out. Now it wasn't the best at first, and part of that was the camera not letting me move around or me not understanding how to move it around, but after putting down some more nodes and putting them actually underneath the box, this time I was able to keep it up. So that actually wasn't too bad, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but the next big building challenge it had was trying to build this bridge. Now I had a pretty big gap to cross here, and at first I still didn't understand how you could move the camera around. So you can see I put down some fixed joints on both sides, and now I'm trying to connect them up with some panels. Now just like Polybridge, there is max material lengths though, so I do have to be a little bit careful, and you can see I'm trying to link a bunch of these logs together with some of the braces. And with all those in place now, I tried building it up, and surprisingly, it was actually holding right now. That was more than I expected here, and now I just need to try to get the character across. So I loaded up into him, and this didn't exactly go great. Now, supporting things is actually kind of important in this game, so you could see first, I tried to build some panels across the gap, and this should let me actually get some decent footing. Now, after putting down a bunch of nails here, I gave this another try now, but it's a little bit too heavy, and that long line of logs just wasn't gonna cut it. So I tried reinforcing this a little bit here, and adding on some extra supports, and you could see I could build some triangle supports all the way across this bridge. Now, one of the things this game gets right that a lot of them really don't is that the building is genuinely intuitive and actually not a pain to use. Well, of course, I did speed this up a little bit. It didn't really take any time at all to build, and especially for any 3D construction game, that's really impressive to be able to do. But with that built now, I wanted to try getting on it, and at first, the footing was still a little bit bad, and to fix that, I just put down a few more reinforcements here, and also put down some handrails. This still wasn't super easy because I kept wanting to drift to the left and right, and you can see that I forgot to nail the very last board, but I was able to pull myself up, and that actually let me cross the bridge. But with that done now, the next thing I need to do is try to build this tower up here, and this one's a little more complicated. The bridge was longer, but now I need a structure that's actually able to support me climbing up it, but you can see here I was able to build it pretty quickly again, and with a little bit of luck, I was able to touch that box up there and pretty easily beat the entire entire first area. And while those technically weren't part of the tutorial, they were definitely teaching levels, and this next set definitely gets a lot harder. And starting out here, the first thing I wanted to do was build this water tower. Now, my original idea was to try to put down a single pole, which didn't really work very well. So to try to keep that from falling over, you could see me adding on some more logs now. And once I got these on all the corners here, I wanted to try it out. This wasn't very strong though, but you can see with some extra braces here, I'm able to pretty easily try to reinforce it. Now, it was also falling over a lot, so to fix that, I wanted to add on some extra logs on the bottom, and this didn't really seem any closer. While the materials in this game are extremely strong, if not indestructible, the nails seem to come out very easily, and with even just a little bit too much force in the wrong direction, they immediately seem to fall apart. With that good enough though, the next thing I wanted to take a look at here was this cart. Now, if you haven't noticed, I have been skipping over some of the levels here, and that's just because I didn't find them particularly interesting, or they were just very easy. Now, I almost was gonna do that with this cart level, but I discovered something very interesting. Now, originally to make this cart, you could see I put down 4 wheels, put down some logs, and with just a couple nails, everything seemed to hold together, and I can get my character here to push this all the way over to the green box. Now, one thing I had noticed is that if I brace 2 of these wheels together and try to push the cart, while I didn't get a great grip on it, they did seem to rotate a little bit here, which got me thinking that maybe this could work like a train. So you can see on that brace, I tried adding on some logs, and this should give me a little bit of weight that pushes them down and rotates the cart forward. And giving this a shot here, it seemed to work pretty much exactly right on the first try, and the logs broke off on the bottom, meaning the cart kept rolling forward, and that let me beat the level. Now, it's that kind of stuff that gets me excited for when the sandbox comes out. And next, I wanted to try one of the hardest levels in the campaign so far. Now, for this, I need to try to support this platform all the way out from the house, and my only support points are going to be against the house. So really all I thought to do now was try to build off of some supports right on the edge here, and you can see I'm trying to link these two together. One very good thing is that nails are very forgiving, and they will go very long distances to attach to other pieces. This is really good because otherwise it would be quite painful to try to link things together. Now, you can also see here I'm adding in some other logs, and this is to try to make my triangles on the bottom to hold this thing together. I was definitely worried about the strength of this bridge because it's kind of going a far distance here, and to keep it from bending down too much, you could see me also adding in another node against the bottom of the house. Now, with a few braces, I could link it up to the bridge here, and you could see after doing that, I also wanted to add on the walkway for the guy to walk on. Of course, for this, just need to add on some panels here, and with those in place, now we just needed to nail them against the bridge. This theoretically was all I needed, so I tried to build it now, and I wanted to see what would happen. Now, this didn't really seem super close, but I did think of one big issue. When I had attached this bottom bar up to the bridge, I had used supports that are perpendicular to this arm. Now, the issue with that is that kind of provides no strength when it pushes down on the bridge. So to fix that, I tried rebracing it so it was at a better angle. With a few extra supports as well, I could tell it was a lot closer, but I still was gonna need a little bit more strength. So I added on as many braces as I reasonably could, and with all that in place now, giving it another try, it finally was holding itself in place. So trying to walk on this, I jumped immediately and it didn't seem to break, which was a good sign. And walking forward, it was going well up until I misstepped and fell off the bridge. With a quick reload though, I was able to get all the way back here and seem able to stand in this final region, and that lets me beat that bridge. But with that done, now we have the hardest structure to build in the game, and for this, you can see I have to support both of these birds' nests here, and I also have to grab one of these eggs and bring it back down. So I decided to start out by building the top nest, and you can see here I just kept adding on more logs, pretty much like before. Now, even though this is a bit taller, fortunately, it's not as far out, so in theory, it should be a little less load directly on the nails. This is gonna mean that when I'm climbing this though, it's gonna add a lot of vibrations, and I was kinda worried that was gonna cause issues, but I tried bracing these two sides together now, and adding on some panels for me to climb on. Now, with those vertical ones done, now it's had this very large slope I needed to get up, and you can see here, I was able to panel it in pretty easily. And also like before, I wanted to add in a bottom support here, but this one's a little little bit different because instead of going to the very end of the bridge, I wanted to go about halfway up. And you can see once I finished bracing to that here, I wanted to try it out, and it wasn't bad, but it did snap right at the point that support ended. So I tried using a few more braces to hold that together, but also I wanted to add on another support system from the top of the bridge. This should let me pull back a bit more, and you can see I was a lot closer this time. I was hoping with just a few more braces, I'd be able to hold that top part from falling down, and with that at least mostly figured out, I just needed to get this other nest supported. Now fortunately, this one's pretty much the same design, and I can also brace this vertical support that I added in before. And you can see now, trying this out, it was mostly holding here and just a few joints came apart. But with just a couple more adjustments to hold that together, it seemed to actually work out here, and I wanted to try climbing it now. Now I knew this was gonna add a lot of stress onto the bridge here, so I was trying to very carefully move my way up without jumping too much. Now this mostly seemed to go well, and I was able to get up to this vertical section here, and my legs only got a little bit stuck on the sides. Now eventually you can see I even got into the nest and I was able to grab one of these eggs. This was going great and I just needed to return it, but unfortunately then one of the panels came apart here and I kinda got stuck on the edge. Now my legs were completely trapped, so there's nothing I could really do here and I had to drop this egg. With enough difficulty I was able to get back in the nest though and jump back down. Unfortunately I just missed the nest though and I was a little bit off the edge. This was barely not recoverable for me, and even with a lot of difficulty, I wasn't able to get the egg back up on top. So we went for another climb here, and this time you can see me grab another egg and try to get into the nest. Now unfortunately, I forgot your legs actually have to be in the nest in order to stand up in it, so we had to go for another climb. Now this time though, it was actually working out pretty well, and I was able to drop down to the bottom here and just hit the edge of the bucket. Now those last two levels were genuinely pretty good, and especially with the additions of rotators and wheels and winches, I think you can get some pretty interesting challenges in this game. Regardless though, I'm most excited for the sandbox, and I'll definitely be waiting to see when this game comes out. So of course, just wanted to thank the developer for sending over a playtest key. If you have any other questions or comments, leave those down below as well, and otherwise, till next time.